Hello again, everybody. This is pre-video Zach. I should have mentioned this during the video, but I filmed this before the injury replacements for Joel Embiid and Julius Randle were announced. It has since been reported that Trae Young and Scotty Barnes will be replacing those two in the All-Star game. None of that changes anything that I say in the video upcoming. I just wanted that to be clarified and clear. So with that, thank you. Enjoy the video. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to a love to What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Being Late to the News. As always, I'm your host, Zach Cronin, and today we are going to be talking about the 2024 NBA All-Star Game, more specifically the All-Star rosters, and the one thing that Adam Silver needs to do to improve the selection process. The news of this by now is days old. All of your favorite content creators have talked about it. We've discussed the snubs. Well, not we, but I'm talking about the fans collectively. I have not talked anything about this. Not to say that I didn't care about the reserves selection, but prior to the reserves being announced, the only talking point was who should have been the starter, Jalen Brunson or Damian Lillard. To that, I really didn't care to comment on because I knew Jalen Brunson was going to be an all star, and the being a starter or not doesn't really matter to me. What matters more is being selected to the game. And there were a handful of players who were not selected to participate in this year's NBA All Star game. I can name five guys off the top of my head who should have been announced, that being Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Lauri Markkanen, and Domantas Sabonis. That was actually four. I apologize. So those four guys should have been All Stars and were not. A large factor in them not being selected, I think, was the NBA going back to the East versus West format for whatever reason. In the past, they had the team captains where they select everybody pickup game style, which I thought was a lot more intriguing because you got to see guys like LeBron and Steph play together, like Joel Embiid and Kevin Durant play together. I don't remember the exact pairings, but it made for some interesting teams because these guys otherwise would not have been able to have been on the same rosters as one another. The full list of rosters are as follows. We have Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Paolo Banchero, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Damian Lillard, Tyrese Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, Julius Randle, and Jason Tatum. For the East, for the West, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Luka, KD, Ant Edwards, Paul George, SGA, LeBron, Jokic, Kawhi, and Cat. I think as I already mentioned, the largest snubs being Trae Young and Domantas Sabonis for both conferences, respectively. Trae is averaging like 27 and 10 this season. He's one of, I think, five guys to post those numbers for a season. And as it stands right now, he is not going to be participating in this year's All Star game, making him the only guy to potentially average those numbers and not be an All Star. Side note, however, I do feel that he is going to be selected as a reserve because the East is going to be without Julius Randle and without Joel Embiid. Sabonis as well, averaging like 18, 13, and 8. This guy has been an absolute freakazoid, impacting every area of the game. I mean, he's like the third best center in the NBA. You could argue all NBA third team last year. But one thing that really fucking bothers me about all of this, and one thing that Adam Silver needs to change as soon as possible, is the fact that the All Star teams are only 12 players. That shit does not cut it anymore. It's really only seven because you have the five starters and the seven reserves. So you have like nine or 10 guys every year fighting for these seven roster spots. And what makes that doubly annoying is that the NBA consistently winds up having 13 or 14 All Stars per conference every year. I went back and I checked on the last five All Star games, the total number of players that were selected as All Stars. They may or may not have played, but they were selected. Last season, it was 27. The year before that, it was 27. In 2021, it was 27. In 2020, it was 25, so they only had one extra selection. But in 2019, again, it was 27. The league, the NBA, is in a space where there are more than 12 All Stars per conference. And I think the selection process needs to reflect that. I don't think that Paolo should have been named an All-Star over Trae Young. He has been playing fantastically. This is Paolo, of course, and the Magic are a better team than the Hawks, but you just can't not acknowledge a guy who is averaging 27 and 10. Now again, Paolo has been great. He's averaging like 23, 7 and 5, contributing to Orlando's success, but at least to me, when it comes to picking the reserves, I don't give a fuck about how good the team is. I care about how well that player is individually. The All-Star game to me, it is an individual showcase. If you want to talk about team success factoring in, go to the All-NBA selections. That's where I think that winning should be favored more heavily. You could argue that Tyrese Maxey shouldn't have been an All-Star over Trae Young, but that argument is, I think, a little that's more debatable. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. Both of those guys have been spectacular all season. It bothers me that again we are still using this archaic 12-man system when I can name literally 3 guys in each conference that you could select to these All-Star teams and give a full 15. For the East, it would be Trae Young, it would be Scotty Barnes, and then the third, it a little bit of a wild card, but LaMelo Ball, when he's fully healthy, is an all-star. I'm going to be a little biased here and select either Mikal Bridges or Cam Thomas. I think that those guys, all of those guys, are deserving to have their names in the conversation. For the West, this is the biggest no-brainer. Your 3 remaining all-stars are Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, and Larry Markkinen. But every year, we have these 24 players get selected. We talk about the snubs. We talk about who should have made it, who shouldn't have made it. And all Adam Silver needs to do is just add 3 more spots to the roster. It doesn't change anything. It's not about going out and performing in the All-Star game because everyone knows that the 10 best players in the league are going to be on the court at the end of those games. It's about the recognition. It's about being recognized by the fans, by the coaches, by your peers, and by the commissioner himself, who is the one who appoints these reserves. I think that's all the yapping I feel like doing today. There really isn't much to focus on in this conversation because the guys that I just mentioned all speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves. Just have 15 guys per conference. That's still 30 players in total, which is less than 1% of the league, I want to say, if my math is correct. And again, for the 100th time, there are 30 guys in the NBA who are all-star worthy, and sometimes even more than that, considering that certain guys are limited by injury. Another guy that I somehow forgot to mention was Devin Booker. Adam, come on, bro. You need to I can't do this anymore. I'm so sick and tired of going on to Twitter, going on to Reddit, and seeing everybody be upset that their favorite player wasn't selected to participate in the All-Star game when they should have been. And the fans have a right to be upset that their player wasn't selected. The player has a right to be upset that they weren't selected. I know that Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, Trae Young, all of these guys do feel some type of way. So Adam, please, Commissioner Silver, please make the All-Star game 30 players, 15 from each conference. Please, for the love of God, just do it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. And with that, I will catch you in the next one.